The opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or owners of WMRD or its advertisers. Hello and welcome to the Oath Keeper Show, a collection of rants, raves, personal observations, and insights on current events, social issues, and things that just don't pass the common sense test. I am the Oath Keeper, and here's today's topic. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in this country with regards to awards and honors and things like that. I mean, Barack Obama won a Nobel Peace Prize for pretty much, nothing. And considering it was awarded to him within the first 10 days he was in office, this kind of stuns me. I mean, he has a kill list. He's used drones to kill Americans overseas. He's used military hardware to put the Muslim Brotherhood in control of Libya. He's kept us in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he tries to get us involved with Syria. He can't get us directly involved with Syria, so he continues to use U.S. taxpayer money to give weapons to the same people that flew planes into the World Trade Center on 9/11. Then you have Bill Clinton getting Father of the Year. I mean, seriously. I would have thought that an award would go to someone whose kid wasn't 33 and married. At the very least, I would expect having multiple affairs while married would take you out of consideration. Or perhaps lying to a grand jury might. Or maybe getting caught lying to a grand jury might get you knocked out of the running. Or possibly getting impeached for getting caught lying to a grand jury might get you knocked out of the running. But I guess that's just me. Then there's Hillary Clinton. I mean, seriously, how does one create the circumstances where a United States ambassador and 3 other people get killed? You refuse to send help after having removed the Marines that guard the embassy. You got drunk. You fell down. You refused to go before Congress to testify about it. You blamed it on a YouTube video that no one has ever seen. And then when you finally do bother to show up in Congress, you argue with them. And you get a humanitarian award for that? I mean, am I missing the punchline? Which brings me to the next item on my list of ginormously stupid things anyone has ever suggested. The United States government has actually proposed a stamp for a self-professed child molester. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, man. Sometimes he says things and I just get caught off guard by him. But yeah, someone actually came up with the idea to give Harvey Milk to emblazon his image on a commemorative stamp. Now, the obvious question here is, who's Harvey Milk? Isn't that guy from that Sean Penn movie a few years back? And I really hate to admit that I even watched Sean Penn movies. And admittedly, I haven't watched this one because of the subject matter. But yeah, that guy that was in that movie that Sean Penn made. If all you know about Harvey Milk is what you saw in the movie, then as usual, you get about 10% of who and what he really was. The movie would have you believe that he was a godsend to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and had he not been gunned down mercilessly in cold blood by a homophobe named Dan White just because Harvey Milk was gay, well then he would have changed the world. Oh, not quite. You see, Dan White had a labor dispute with the city of San Francisco, and he wanted his job back. So he loaded up his gun and he went to go see Mayor George Moscone and shot him when it became clear that he wasn't going to get his job back. Now, I'm not 100% certain about this, but I'm pretty sure once you start shooting people that you're not going to get your job back. I'll put that out there for anybody that's going, well, that's what I'll do. I'll go get my job back. Well, don't take a gun, okay? It's ignorant. Innocent people get hurt. But I digress. So what happens is Dan White walks out into the hallway, and then, there's Harvey Milk, so he shoots him. And that's pretty much, the end of the story. Harvey Milk got killed because he happened to be in the hallway. I mean, it could have been anybody. It could have been any number of other people that were in the building that day. On the surface, it seems a bit odd, but then when you consider that in Penn's movie, he left out a couple of really huge facts. Like, for instance, that Harvey Milk was a socialist, and his best friend and political mentor, The guy that talked him into entering the political fray was none other than socialist Jim Jones. Yeah, that Jim Jones, exactly. The one who took his entire church to a foreign country and had all 900 members of his congregation commit suicide by drinking poison-laced grape Kool-Aid, which is where we get the expression, don't drink the Kool-Aid. But don't feel bad for not knowing this. I mean, not only was it not in Penn's movie, but in Harvey Milk's Wikipedia entry, it doesn't mention their association either. You see, Jim Jones and his People's Church, well, he was a socialist. That was the whole point of what he was doing. And he talked Harvey Milk into entering politics so that he could push socialist agenda here in the United States. Now, this was back during the 70s, so it was probably might have been a bit harder back then than it is now because more people were tuned to be on the lookout for socialism back then than they are now, and now it's like the Democrats are the Socialist Party, so it doesn't really matter. Nowadays, he probably would have been voted in probably by landslide simply because he was gay. And that's not the point of what I'm talking about here. Gerard Dawes wrote a glowing book about Harvey Milk called The Mayor of Castro Street, where he wrote of Harvey Milk's relationship, and that is in quotation marks, with a 16-year-old boy named McKinley, whom Milk had convinced to run away from his home in Minnesota and join him in San Francisco. Folks, look, I try to be reasonable and I try to be understanding about things. I understand and I accept that there are certain rules, and I will be the first person to acknowledge that, who you think that you're in love with, there's that whole thing there, and I don't want to get into that because it's not important enough to sit there and get on a soapbox and go, well, this is a sin. It's clearly defined as a sin. You're not supposed to do it. And people are going to argue with me, saying all kinds of things, and that's not the point of all of this. The point being is that he convinced a 16-year-old kid to leave Wisconsin and go to San Francisco so that they can be involved with each other. Okay? At that point, anytime an adult has sex with a person under the age of 18, that's child abuse. That is, exactly what the whole topic here that I was talking about was. That is, you're molesting children. You have a problem. All right, but you also have to understand in this situation that Barack Obama posthumously awarded Harvey Milk the Presidential Medal of Honor in 2009. The bill that accompanied the award instructs the governor to proclaim a Harvey Milk Day and designates that, quote, that date as having special significance in the public schools and educational institutions, encouraging them to, again, quote, conduct suitable commemorative activities, end quote. Now, me personally, I have no clue what suitable commemorative activities are for a guy that was having sex with a runaway kid. Or maybe it's not that I don't know, maybe it's that I don't want to know. Well, I do know that Harvey Milk sent a letter to Jimmy Carter after Jones had kidnapped a 6-year-old and spirited him away to Guyana. Now, that was back when Jim Jones took his whole little congregation, flew them over to Guyana, set up Jonestown, created his own little socialist city down there, and things happened. Well, in the process, a lot of people were being taken there that didn't want to go, namely this 6-year-old kid. So Harvey Milk wrote a letter to Jimmy Carter, who was president at the time, asking him to refrain from taking any action by saying that not only, and I'm quoting here, not only is the life of a child at stake who currently has loving and protective parents in the Reverend and Mrs. Jones, but our official relationship with Guyana could stand to be jeopardized to the potentially great embarrassment of our State Department, end quote. Now, here we have a pedophile talking to a spineless president, asking him to not take action to rescue a 6-year-old kid that was taken to a foreign country. John Stone, the boy whose actual parents Milk had libeled to the president as purveyors of bold-faced lies and blackmail attempts, they also died with their 6-year-old at Jonestown. So, Milk used members of Jones's church to bring busloads of fraudulent voters to elections to elect politicians that were sympathetic to Jones and the Socialist Party. Now, this sounds familiar to me. Ohio, Pennsylvania. Milk also sent a handwritten note to Jim Jones saying, quote, "My name is cut into stone in support of you and your people," end quote. So here clearly we have a guy that is a hardline socialist that is supporting a hardline socialist that ultimately got 900 people to die. Now, how many of those 900 people actually willfully committed suicide and how many were forced to drink the Kool-Aid? I don't know. I can't say. But I'm pretty sure that a 6-year-old kid doesn't have the cognitive understanding to go, I'm committing suicide. I'm ending my life. All because Harvey Milk didn't think his parents were good parents, thought Jim Jones was a better parent. So you got that. Now, none of these things that have happened, none of them mattered when Obama bestowed Milk with the Presidential Medal of Honor. It didn't seem to stop former San Diego Mayor Bob Filner from suggesting a Navy submarine be named after Harvey Milk. Now, there is a joke in there, I know, and I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to go there. I have too much respect for our military. Whether there are homosexuals in the military or not, I still have too much respect for our military to go there. All right? Filner, by the way, in case you're interested, recently pled guilty to a felony count of false imprisonment and 2 counts of misdemeanor battery. The felony count alleges false imprisonment by violence, fraud, menace, and deceit. The victims, all 3 of them, were identified as Jane Does. As long as we're going there, the same article in Wikipedia, if you read it, also lists Dianne Feinstein as a centrist. Now, I'm not sure exactly what planet you have to be from to think that Dianne Feinstein is a centrist, but you got to be so far left, you got to be out of the freaking ballpark. There's just no way anybody can look at a woman and listen to the things that comes out of that hole under her nose and go, she's a centrist. She wants to have gun control. She personally wants the ability to decide who is and who isn't a journalist. And she's considered a centrist? Well, I've got a few nominees for Husband of the Year. How about that guy in Ohio that held the women hostage for years? How about, let's see, we put Joseph Mengele on a stamp. How about we put John Wayne Gacy on a stamp? How about we put Jeffrey Dahmer on a stamp? As long as we're going to put all these people on here, let's look at that. But for me, here's the real kicker on all of this, and it's really something that just astounds the ever-loving eye. They're going to take somebody like Harvey Milk, a self-professed, child molester, and they're going to put him a stamp. But I have to ask, in all honesty, does this guy deserve to be on a stamp? I just don't want to think about what you have to do to the stamp to get it to stick on the envelope. You've been listening to the Oathkeeper Show on Retro Country Bear 94.5 in Maynardville, Tennessee. The opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or owners of Bear 94.5 or its advertisers. You can also read my column in the Polygraph newspaper, available in most places around the tri-state area. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.